Welcome back, Junior Detectives. We're still playing Equine Mysteries. We're currently in the case of the... Oh, what was my iguana doing? My iguana was doing something in the library. Anyway, let's rock on. And let's hit this lovely glass box, which I think is Watson's playpen. Watson's tank is on the bookshelf. The tank contains a warming rock and a bowl of water. The warming rock is electric. It gives off a little heat to warm Watson's tank. So why isn't he in there now? Anyway, let's have a look at the window. The window. The treehouse window looks like it was forced open. Hey, look at that. A bit of blue yarn is snagged on the nail outside the window. Wow, it's a long way down to Mrs. Menensky's yard from here. Mrs. Menensky. If someone came up this way to steal Watson, they'd have to be a really good tree climber. Why didn't they not just use the ladder? Because there's no way that thing shuts with this here. Anyway, I think it's time to solve our case. Hit the solve button. I think we've rounded up all the clues we need. Let's pick our 5 clues. Ugh. Let's pick 5 clues that point to our suspect. Alright. I think the blue yarn is relevant. And the good tree climber is relevant. And... Eric is a great tree climber. Mike said Eric and he blah 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 and blah blah blah. Now let's see if we can point out who's responsible for Watson's mysterious appearance at the library. I think it's Eric Victor. You're right. It was Eric who took Watson. He wanted to get back at Mrs. Minsky for confiscating his ball. Let's check the evidence. Nancy told us that she was sure she shut the treehouse window before she left yesterday. The window to the treehouse was open this morning, and a piece of blue yarn was caught on a nail outside. Nancy pointed out that our treehouse is really high, up above Mrs. Minsky's yard. Whoever climbed the tree and into the window must have been a great tree climber. Watson was found in the library clear across town. He couldn't have got there by himself. Mrs. Garcia told us that Mrs. Minsky was really frightened by Watson crawling over her feet. She said that Mark Moriarty, Eric Victor, and Mike Walker were all at the library when it happened. Mrs. Minsky said that she had recently confiscated one of Eric Victor's baseballs that she had found in her yard. Mark Moriarty told us that he saw Mike Walker and Eric Victor laughing at Mrs. Minsky's fright. We ran into Mike Walker in Taylor Park. His frisbee was stuck up a tree. Mike said he hates heights, but Eric Victor is really good at climbing trees. Although he could have been just saying that to mislead us, but that's just me. Eric was wearing a blue sweater today that looked as though it had been snagged on something. You figured it out. Eric Victor snuck into the treehouse and borrowed Watson to play a nasty trick on Mrs. Minsky. Minsky. I don't know. Oh, Nancy, can't you read with your glasses on? It's great to have Watson back safe and sound. Yeah, thanks to Resulka, Mrs. Garcia knows we didn't play that prank on Mrs. Minsky. Minsky, I don't know. Everyone who read that front page article in the Tiger Press knows too. Check it out. Kennedy Tiger Press. Lizard prank exposed. Watson the Iguana, the reptilian mascot of the Eagle Eye Detective Agency, was lizard-napped and used in a childish prank at the public library Saturday morning. At first, said Jennifer Eagle, Mrs. Garcia suspected that we were behind the prank, but Resulka proved that Eric Victor was behind the trick. When we confronted him with the evidence collected by Resulka, blah 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 blah, Eric Victor confessed. Eric broke into the eagle's nest so that he could borrow the iguana to scare Mrs. Minsky. Mrs. Minsky had recently confiscated Eric's baseball when he carelessly left it in her yard. Looking for revenge, Eric remembered that Miss Minsky had a dread fear of the harmless mascot of the Eagle Eye Detectives, so he climbed the tree in which the Eagle's Nest treehouse lies, and took the lizard to the library, where he knew Mrs. Minsky would be. Mrs. Garcia, of the Richview Library, stated, "Thanks to Resulka's detective work, the mystery of the runaway reptile," that's what the case is called, how did I forget, "is solved. Eric Victor will have to find another place to study this month. The library is closed to him." Anyway, let's move on to our next mystery. The mysterious monster. Let's see what happens within. I still can't tell if that's the stereo or the TV that's doing that. In any case, we interrupt our program for this bulletin. The radio Richview newsroom tells us that a large monster was spotted by several people early this morning at Buccaneer Beach. The monster, described as over 60 feet long, raised its head up out of the water. It approached the beach and was reported to cry out at the amazed onlookers. Sounds pretty far-fetched to me, folks, but state investigators are at the beach right now, checking it out. Look out, Loch Ness Monster! Here comes Richview Reptile! A sea monster at Buccaneer Beach? Let's go over there and check it out. In fact, let's check it out with Jake. Hello, Jake. Alright. Buccaneer Beach. It's never gonna be cool, Jake. Give it up. Alright, looks like we got Mark Moriarty here. Piece of green something. Wow, look at all the people here at the beach. Ho, it's Mark Moriarty, and he's being interviewed by TV reporters. I always thought something strange was going on, and now I see why. That Mark is always playing some clever trick. But how could he convince people that they saw a monster at the beach? Could he be telling the truth? For once? Alright, let's talk with Mark. Hi, Jake. You hear about the monster we saw? Willie Barr was with me. He even saw it first, plain as day. Steve Shred was here windsurfing when it happened. He saw it too. Yeah, I saw it first, even before Mark. At least I thought I did. When I told him about it and pointed, he saw it too. He said he could see it as clear as day. It was huge, bigger than the tallest building in town. It was right out that way, about 50 feet offshore. It had a big long neck. We could see even through the fog. Alright, let's see what's happening out here. This morning fog has finally lifted. Sailboats cruise by a few hundred feet offshore. Let's have a look and see what this green thing is. What in the world is that? It's a big piece of green plastic, about the size of a beach towel. It even feels thicker than the plastic sheet Dad puts down over the firewood stacked in the backyard. He has plans to cut down our tree house. It's not going to happen. Anyway, I think we'll cut it here and come back to continue our investigation. See you later. Resulka out.